Hello, friends. My name is Aslam Sheikh, your host for this evening. I'm founder and CEO of Alif, a platform to promote the global presence of education and career. This is our 21st webinar series and are broadcasted live on Facebook and YouTube. Every Friday, we aim to bring in the valuable speakers to discuss the topics that is important to our students and parents. For the benefit of our new viewers who joined this week first time, let me quickly take them through the introduction of Alif, who we are, and what we do. To do so, just allow me to share the screen so that you can hear and at the same time have a look at what I got to share with you. Okay, so the meaning of Aleph is the first alphabet. It's actually a first alphabet in Arabic and Urdu language. And since it signifies the beginning, and that's the reason why we chose to keep this name, it's a beginning of a new journey, new education, and that's how you relate with it. Our company has got the 14 staffs, core staff, our affiliations. We are affiliated with ICF, WEBA. We are certified by British Council, ISO certified. We won an award from Singapore Education Board for being the specialist. Established in 2008, council over 23,000 students so far, have got 100% admission ratio and 95% visa ratio for the students who are going abroad. And we represent over 14 countries. We've been recently in this COVID time, the good news came in that we've been ranked among the top 10 consultants to look for by the Insight Success magazine. What we promise is 100% guaranteed admission to the university which we represent, because we know the criteria and eligibility points and we can match with the right students. Some of the universities where our students are studying across these countries, well known among top 100, 200, 500 in the world. What we also promise and assure you is a scholarship. Up till now, in this last over 11 years, 23 crore rupees of scholarship have been distributed through our students, offered by different universities and different institutes. These are some of the students. Scholarship could be as low as 1,84,000 in Indian rupees, up to 100% tuition fee waiver if you're looking for universities in Germany or in the US. What we do is that essentially first step is to offer the career counseling. So students are usually confused and don't know what to do in their life or which course to choose. And this is where we come into picture to help them through the career counseling. So we use DMI technology or the psychometric test, online test. We are also providing the IELTS coaching. We are certified and award winner by the British Council. We won the silver award last year. Some of our students who scored in IELTS, what we do in terms of study abroad services, right from student profiling to application to loan to accommodation, everything has been covered under one roof. The countries which we represent are across the different continents like Europe, North America, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. We also help the students to prepare themselves, like with regards to the cross-culture training, articulate, depending upon which country they are going, connecting with alumni who are already there through us, etc., etc. We pay a lot of attention towards the quality and the quality of counseling, because student generally depends on your counseling to take their further call. And that's the reason why we personally visit to most of the universities. Our staff visit. We have been scoring 4.6 out of 5 in the open rating by Facebook by our students, and on Google our rating is 4.2 out of 5. A lot of events we organize throughout the year for students, for universities, for high schools, which you can have a look at. Our counselors do travel, not only me, but they also travel. They meet students across different countries where our students are studying. And that's why they get to know what exactly they're counseling to students back in India. Some of the success stories, students have been featured in the local newspaper because of their research work. Shweta, she completed her studies from State University of New York. She was from Mulund in Mumbai, and she's now working in US. Similarly, from NM College, we have Akshay, who got his job in Dell Technologies in his 11th month of MBA whilst pursuing in Ireland. So there are the different things about me. So I've counseled personally over 1,000 students, traveled to 14 countries, attended a lot of international events, workshops, seminars. I'm also the ex-president of BNI Plus chapter, the executive committee member of Bombay Industry Association, and also been named as the top best consulting leaders for this year by Knowledge Review magazine. So that's it about the introduction of Alif. Let's come back to the main screen and let me introduce you the today's topic. So as we know, today we are going to discuss about the top careers with the commerce degree. Yes, friends. And to discuss these exciting subjects, we have with us an expert panel of speakers, and let me do the honor of introducing them one Here. Okay, so let's welcome our first speaker, Maharshi. Hello, Maharshi.
Hi, Aslam.
Hi. Maharshi is the founder of Maharshi Ganatra and Associates. He's a chartered accountant, company secretary, and LLB all put together in one personality. He is one of the youngest CACS in India. And when he qualifies, then he provides a complete solution for compliance, tax, and legal advices. He is also the visiting faculty at various institutes like SP Jain and SIES. Thank you, welcome, Maharshi, for joining us.
Thank you, Aslam. It's a pleasure being here.
Okay, great. Okay, then let's move to the next speaker. We have got Ms. JYOTHY Ramchandran.
Hi.
Hello, ma'am.
Namaste.
Namaste. Okay, so in order to introduce Ms. JYOTHY Ramchandran, let me go to her bio. Okay, she's a veteran educationist who is presently heading the Mahapragya Public School run by the Acharya Mahapragya Vidyanidhi Foundation, Mumbai. She has been in the field since 1987. Since 2015 till 2018, she had been awarded the Microsoft Innovator Educator Expert Award. JYOTHY is associated with NCERT and a resource person for CBSE. For social development, she works passionately with the teachers of vernacular medium schools to raise their bars of effectiveness in teaching skills and level of English. Thank you very much, JYOTHY, for joining us. Thank you. Okay, so from JYOTHY, we move to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Vandana Murjani. Hello, Vandana.
Hello, namaste. Thank you, Aslam, and welcome everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. Vandana, she is the head of career and college guidance at Emerald Heights International School, Indore. Vandana provides counseling support to the students from grades 8 till 12th, wherein she helps the students discover the talent, their latent potential in the most scientific manner. Vandana has been the recipient of the Excellence in Teaching Award by Career Launcher, India. Vandana shoulders multiple responsibilities at the institutes like AP coordinator, SAT supervisor, PSAT supervisor, faculty empowerment program coordinator, to name a few. Thank you, Vandana, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, I'm happy to introduce. Okay. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, good evening, Aslam. Lovely to be with you.
Thank you very much. So Andrea is the International Recruitment and Business Development representing Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. She's responsible for marketing and recruitment activities for Victoria University of Wellington in India, including direct marketing, coordinating with students, agents, and counseling of prospective students. She has previously worked for Immigration New Zealand and in the non-profit sector, and enjoys assisting students to identify the right study choices for their goals.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, for joining us. And last but not the least by any means, very renowned international counselor, Mr. Himanshu Dev. Hello, Himanshu.
Hi, Aslam. Glad to be here again and again.
Thank you very much. Good to have you. We are equally pleased to have you. So Himanshu served in the US. He served in the past at the US Department of State's Education USA program. His students reach MIT, Harvard, Cornell, Columbia, and in India to IITs, IIMs, and ISBs. He was a lecturer at the University of North Carolina, US, after completing a master's in international studies from the same university on full scholarship. He is currently an advisor to various schools, universities, government, and organizations across the world. Thank you very much, Himanshu, for joining us.
Thank you, Aslam. Keep up your good work.
Thanks a lot. Okay, friends. So before I go to our panels to ask the questions, and I've already received a lot of questions from students and parents who have submitted to us. I would say that if you have any questions still, you can write onto the comment box, and we will try our best to take those questions as we go further. And I have got one question to ask to our audience. And it's a very simple question. Whosoever answer first will get access to our online student ability test, which worth around 5,000 rupees free of cost. So you can have this test for you, or you can gift it to someone who you think would be eligible to have and wants to know about himself and what course should he select for. So the question is very simple. What is the capital city of New Zealand? The question is, what is the capital city of New Zealand? So I would look forward to receiving your answers. And meantime, I will move to our speakers and we will begin the session. So let me first move to Ms. JYOThy.
Okay.
Yes. And let's begin with the very basic questions. And before I could even start talking about the commerce, I was just going through some interesting data I would like to share with you before we start the conversation. Maybe you can relate with it something. The MHRD data for 2016 and 2019, and I was just making some comparative studies to look at the trends for Indian students. Though we stay in metropolitan cities and we are very much aware of a lot of different study options available. However, we really do not know India as well as we should know it. And that's the reason why I took the help of MHRD. And now MHRD government data suggests that in 2016, out of total students who opted for different programs, 40% students opted for arts field and 16% opted for science, 15.6 to engineering, and 14.1 to commerce. That's the data which has been thrown. And in 2019, the data has been revised, wherein there was a drop in these art students from 40% to 35%. Engineering and science gained a little bit. Science gained, and they gained by 1%, so 0.5%. So 16.5 student opted in the last year. And just mind you that this data keeps on changing every year based on a lot of economical and other factors. Now coming to the point, what I'm making is that how can a student decide should he take commerce as a field of education after his 10th, or science or engineering? Because most of the time when we do career counseling, we still see that it's more of external factors, influencers who influence the student's decision. So as a head of the school, what's your way of looking at the decision to take the further action after 10th?
Hello, everyone. I think, Aslam, you've given out the answer that I was supposed to say. We have already said that children decide their courses when they are in the class 8th, 9th, and 10th. Some kids plan much before, maybe even 6th onwards. Till class 10th, you should understand that the student is taught all subjects. The child is too young to understand whether science is interesting, or maths is interesting, or commerce is interesting. So he is taught all the subjects, and then he in class 9th and 10th, now with career counselors like you being around, you are able to give a vision to the students, and you are able to make them understand that there is just, previously we just used to have science, pure sciences. Today botany is dead, zoology is dead, like the typical courses are dead, and we are getting the typical 21st century skilled based degrees. And today the child of class 10 might opt for commerce if he had, probably there's a CA in their house, there is a CS in the house, then there is a lot of feeling that science is very tough, you have to work very hard, arts is not okay, commerce is easy, especially in Bombay. Children feel that commerce is the best, then they get to go to the best colleges in Bombay, so they want to opt for commerce. At that point in class 10, they are not aware of a career as such, and commerce means we think it's only BCom. So
Yeah.
the child is exposed to these things. And also what happens, I feel sometimes a good commerce teacher also inspires to learn or become a student of commerce. So that's again, the role of a teacher becomes very important for taking up a course or pursuing commerce at higher levels. I hope I have
Absolutely.
answered your question the way.
Yes.
you
Yes,
required.
very much. Thank you very much for your really good insight, and I'm sure that the audience must have related what you're trying to,
Yeah,
explain to the students. Thanks for that, ma'am.
thank
Okay,
you.
I'll just invite Vandana now onto the same conversation. Vandana, when we talk about the different study options, and when you talk about study commerce, and you come from the city of Indore, how do
Right.
you see the students and parents react towards this particular program? What are their general misconception they may have you would like to address? Being a career counseling head, I'm sure that you must have come across a lot of questions. So what are those misconceptions, and what are the real facts behind those misconceptions?
Basically, I come from a school where we have a mixed cohort. We have students from, because we are a residential school, so we have students from elite families as well as from small towns. So the students who come from small towns, they are not exposed to the unconventional careers also. In fact, right from I think very early age, their brains are trained to become either IITians or doctors. So that is that particular sector where I face a lot of problem. That whether they have the aptitude or not, whether they have the interest or not, but the mind is fixed. So the myths regarding commerce in that particular sector, which I feel is that they feel commerce is mainly taken by the students who are academically average. Students who are not able to study sciences, they should go for commerce. Secondly, the myths which they have is, most of them have is that if you want to become CA or CS, then you should take commerce. Otherwise, you generally land up doing BCom, and BCom is like traditional BCom. Like if you just don't want to study, why? The fact is not like this.
Right.
The fact is that most of the students come from good families, affluent families, business families, and they need to reach their business acumen to carry their familiar business ahead. And they need to study these rigorous courses, commerce courses, so that they become those business tycoons in future and carry forward their businesses the same way their fathers, in fact, better than what their forefathers or father Vogera had must have done.
Right.
So this is one myth which I see, that the students feel that if you are academically mediocre, you should take commerce. Secondly, there is a phobia of accountancy also. Students who feel that I want to take business, then they feel commerce is all about accountancy. They dread accountancy and then they back out at times. The third myth is that I don't want to do CA or CS, so why should I go for commerce? Then
Right.
why not? So these are the three challenges which I see they have, while the fact is far away from this.
Absolutely. In fact, I remember during our time also, I was a commerce graduate. So the reason why precisely I pick up commerce is because science was too hard for me.
Yeah.
Arts I was not interested to go for. So the in between way was that, okay, be safe and take a commerce. So that was the conversation which was going on during my time when we took up
Yeah.
the commerce.
I think this is very difficult to remove still, though it is eliminating with time in quite a many of the sectors, but still there is a particular sector we are still struggling with this stigma.
Right. Absolutely right. So thank you, Vandana. So clarifying this myths, I'm sure that many students and parents are connecting with it because many of them must be going through the same things. On this note, once we got to know the basics of commerce and what are the facts behind it, let me invite our next speaker, and let me see that what Himanshu has got to say when we talk about taking the commerce course. Because Himanshu, you've been counseling the students for India and abroad. And if I would like to just ask you, because many audiences are asked that, what is the advantages, or what is the plus points for me to look for a commerce in abroad? Because we've been seeing that many IT graduates go, many biomedical, bioscience students goes, but what's the advantage for them to go for a commerce studies in abroad, Himanshu?
Yeah, so starting from the high school and then going to college, commerce has been a name which, a lot of times students are not able to relate. Because if we talk about India, we see that in grade 11 and 12, people come to know about commerce. Till grade 10, there is no subject like commerce. There is no career like commerce. So if you ask anyone in grade 9 or 10, what is commerce? And they would be like, they have no idea, because one, they have never been introduced to the subject called commerce. And even the career called commerce or anything to name with it doesn't exist. So what I see, that I think the introduction of business talking and the introduction of BBA may have helped the commerce field as well, because people are able to relate to business. So what my suggestion to the people in power, to the people who are making the curriculum, to the people who are career counselors as well, to
Yeah.
bring commerce and business together. So when somebody is asked about commerce, they should think about, okay, the field is business. And when they
Right.
talk about business, the thing is that the field is commerce. So I see that gap, which actually affects us think about a career, because so many people and a lot of engineers, a lot of people who take math, a lot of even doctors do want to get into business. But
True.
commerce is a word which they don't use. So I think it
Absolutely.
is something to do with the nomenclature as well. And in some countries, they have that culture. In India, the only commerce career we think about is BCom. But then with BCom, what do you become? That disconnect we need to break. That's what I would
True.
see.
I think it's a very important point Himanshu made, and I'll connect this point with Jyoti also. What she said very clearly is that the business is the word which needs to be commonly used along with the commerce, so that the people can understand the meaning of the commerce as well. Very valid point, Himanshu. Thank you for enlightening onto this. And then I'll move to the next speaker. And once we understand what's commerce and how you can connect with commerce with business, let's have our next speaker, Andrea. Andrea represents the university from New Zealand, Victoria University of Wellington, which ranks among 150 universities, especially for commerce. And they have got some exciting programs. So, Andrea, can you take our audience across the programs and majors and minors and the options which you provide under the umbrella of commerce?
Sure, Aslam. So I think tonight we're speaking mainly to a undergraduate audience, to students who are thinking about pursuing a bachelor's degree. So I'm going to concentrate in that area, then just give a little bit of attention towards the postgraduate audience as well. So in New Zealand, if you choose commerce as your field and you enroll in a bachelor's of commerce, you will actually specialize within it. So you'll choose either one or two majors, and those majors that you choose will decide on what your future career is. So you don't go into a bachelor's of commerce as a generalist degree. You do have some subjects that cross over between majors, but you do go into it with an idea of what you will do as a career in the end. So for example, students who would like to become chartered accountants, when we look at the accountancy major in a New Zealand Bachelor of Commerce, that actually leads towards your chartered accountant accreditation. You don't need to take those exams separately. You're doing them as part of your degree. When you finish, you have your academic requirements for your ACCA or your CPA Australia or your Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand registration, which is a fantastic advantage if you are interested in a career in accountancy. What I would also like to really ask students to do is explore potential career paths within commerce. It's not the same world that your parents grew up in 20 years back, 30 years back. You have a lot more options now. So for example, in our Bachelors of Commerce, we have majors as diverse as tourism management, as data science that you could choose to do with alongside international business or finance or marketing or management. One potential career that many commerce graduates don't know about is you can choose to study information systems. Information systems is about how you connect IT and business so that you help businesses to come up with solutions for the problems they face using technical products, database and analytics. Actuarial science is a very specialized field that students who are good at mathematics can go into in the commerce field, where they work for insurance companies calculating risk. So it doesn't have to be management or marketing or accountancy. There's a lot of opportunities within the commerce field that students might not have heard about previously. They might not have even considered, even though it could be an option that could really suit them in the future. When we talk about the postgrad level, we have qualifications that specialize in management, in marketing, in business analysis. We have another postgraduate qualification that again helps you get chartered accountancy accreditation. There's finance. We do offer a very wide variety of programs across the commerce faculty. I'm actually based here in Mumbai, not too far from where Aslam is. So we would always be happy for Alif to put you in touch with us to discuss options if you are interested in studying in New Zealand.
Right. Thank you very much, Andrea, for updating onto all different options which are available. And as you rightly said, yes, years back when we did our commerce, we were not exposed to these many options. But thankfully, with these specializations offered by the universities like yours, a student have a choice to do a dual specialization, take major, minor, or in fact do BCom along with CA, and that's something which is very important for the students to know. Also, actuarial science you mentioned. Now we had the speakers on the other program, and he was speaking about the huge demand which is coming in particular this field. The insurance companies, the mutual funds companies, or the financial companies are definitely looking for a good professionals coming from actuarial science background. There are hardly any universities, or there are few universities, I would say safely, who actually offer actuarial science program.
Very, very true. We are the only university in New Zealand that offers it, and our program is fully accredited by the Actuaries Institute of Australia. And then I think there's 7 universities across Australia. So rather a small offering internationally. And because it's such a specialized field, graduates in this area are very sought after as employees afterwards, within the insurance field.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for this piece of information. Okay, once we understand now that what this degree is offering to you, let's move to the industry and see that how industry looks at you and what kind of career opportunities are available. And on this note, can I request Maharshi? Maharshi, you yourself been a CA, CS, and LLB. I think the students can take a lot from you to understand with your reference that how the student's career would look like post graduation. If you're talking about a BCom graduation at the moment, so what kind of career option would be available in the industry from accounting as well as non-accounting background?
Correct. So I would just like to add on to Himanshu's point, what he mentioned earlier, that there's a disconnect between commerce and the business part of it. So normally in our country, if you have to get into business, it is a presumption that okay, you have to do a BCom or you have to get into graduation from BCom and not in arts and science. But there's a huge disconnect which actually is there currently. For accounting options, what I've been able to gather from the industry is majorly you either become a tally expert, you either become a SAP expert. SAP is again an accounting way. You either do a or either you do a CMA. These are the majorly accounting verticals that are there. The challenge is, other than basic tally, most of the things are not there in the BCom part of it. That is another challenge when it comes to India. Non-accounting, there are many options that are there, like banking, insurance, treasury management, actuarial science, loans, financing. So now there are certain things like, suppose loans. There is a big career that many people have done by becoming a DSA. DSA is that the banks, there are intermediaries who help you get through the loans. But there is no teaching as such that you can do this as a career. So that is connect. But the options available are these. Non-accounting ones are, you can get into banking, insurance, keeping commerce as a base.
Right. So, what you're trying to say is that not necessarily we look out for just get to work on tally, but that there is a life beyond tally, and unfortunately, we do not have that embedded into our curriculum at the moment. But these are the opportunities which the students should be open to explore.
A SAP expert would anywhere have a salary of 40 to 50,000 on an initial basis. That is how is the industry. CS, CMA, everybody knows, but these are the facilities which you can get easy work in the industry.
Right. Thank you, Maharshi. I mean, that's a very valid point. And in fact, many students, they look at it in this way, in a very narrow way, that when you look at the commerce, you see yourself as an accountant only. And I hope that with this eminent speaker's conversation and insight, we are trying to break this particular myth. Thank you, Maharshi. I'll come back to you soon. Meantime, I'll move to JYOTHY, ma'am, again. And
Yeah.
let's understand
Hello.
from you, ma'am, that when we say commerce, it's like an umbrella nowadays. Earlier, it used to be just one section. Now it's an umbrella, and within commerce, we have got a lot of degrees. Again, this is the one of the myth. Most of the time, students do not understand. They see commerce as a separate thing, and then other degrees are separate. So, would you like to throw some lights onto this particular point? So, what are the different options within commerce a student can look for?
Yeah, I think when we say commerce, three things come to our mind. FAT, that is finance, accounting, taxation. Generally, that's the thing. But things have changed a lot now. One thing which we can see is a teacher teaches today to the students of what she has learned yesterday and for the student of tomorrow. So there is a mismatch in the teaching or at schooling what happens. So the child who wants to become a graduate of commerce is only looking at himself as a CA or as a CS or probably ICWA. But today, a lot of avenues have opened up. We have what is called as BAF, business, being a bachelor's in accounting and finance. Then you have BBI, again, bachelor's in business and insurance. Then we also have what is at different levels. Your BFA is also there, BFM is there, the financial management is there. Plus, in class 11th, what happens whenever a child fills up a form, the child is asked commerce lega, IT ke saath lega, ya maths ke saath. This is one common question which pops up every time. Maths is again a monster. It's monster for any average student. If you do well in maths, then you go to IIT, you go become an engineer. Then if you're very good in maths, then a lot of doors are open. But now, to kill that phobia, so they ask commerce with maths chahiye ya commerce with IT. So they have found out there can be other options where commerce and IT or some other allied subject could be combined together. We also have commerce graduates doing their degrees or different levels in taxation and financial management, why even in tourism. So these options were not there before. It was just a BCom. But now tourism is something which we never thought about it. Then we didn't think of hospitality also. Then after that, you also have something called your MMS, you can combine with commerce. I would like to tell everyone that the new education policy is killing all these myths and the mindsets. You can be a doctor and still do something very drastic. You can learn about being a radio jockey also. Otherwise, previously it wasn't a science student or a math student has to be looking very intelligent, very, very brainy. Now, and if the science student says, I would like to do something else, then everybody is very upset. But now, for a commerce student or any student, you can take multiple credits. Like somebody says you can have SAP, yes, you can do SAP, and SAP is very, very financially worthwhile. As Maharshi was saying, you can start with a 40K. I think the world is there for you. Just go and grab it.
Absolutely.
We have all other degrees, allied degrees to go along.
Thank you very much, JYOTHY ma'am. I mean, it was really interesting to know that there are so many options beyond the way we look at the degree most of the time. And in order to kill your phobia for maths, and I could relate with that question because me, myself, and there were many friends who are having allergy with the maths. You definitely have got a lot of alternative options, to take the second.
Probably could be because of the teacher also. I'm not sure on that.
Okay, maybe I don't want to touch that point.
Yeah.
Okay, So
Thank you.
on this note, let me have Vandana. Vandana, being a career counseling head, and if the student wants to know that, okay, ma'am, I'm ready for going for BCom, what are the different options I can go for? We have learned from Jyoti ma'am that what the options could be within BCom. So after BCom, what are my options if I want to further
After
continue?
BCom.
Yeah.
After BCom, you're saying.
Yep.
Right. So when the students come to me, first of all, even I want the answer to one thing which I think Himanshu or you would be able to give me. Most of the students come and they find that commerce is a mysterious field, especially the degrees offered. They say, ma'am, the students who are very clear with the science streams, they know I have to go for IIT, I have to do this engineering, that engineering. Students with humanities also have some kind of clarity that I am going for psychology or I am going for civil services. When it comes to business field and the commerce degrees are mysterious. So which one and how do I pick it up? Whether I should take BBA, whether I should take BCom, whether I should take BFA, BMS, BBE, BMA. I mean, how do I decide? And then when I see the syllabus, I see that the things revolve around quite the same thing, that the students need to have strong foundation in economics. Students should have some fair good amount of hands-on with accountancy and all, and then they are eligible to do all of these things. Future path for all of these, one short thing which most of the students are looking for is like with all these degrees, they can absolutely go ahead with MBA. There is no such restriction for MBA that you can't do MBA if you have not done BCom, or anybody can do MBA. But still, with BCom, students can do a lot of careers. There is no dearth of options for these students. They can still go ahead with data. They can still go ahead with banking sector. They can go ahead with private sectors, MNCs, corporate sectors. They can even go and have their own setups. They can do business analyst course or data sciences. I mean, there is no dearth of options after commerce. The thing is that they have to first decide what do they want. Have they discovered their potentials for that particular thing? They should not be superficially attracted. Sometimes students are superficially attracted. Actuaries have, like lucrative wealth. They can earn so much of salary. They have prestige. But do they have that acumen? Actuaries is a course which requires perfection. You are designing investment. You are designing some policies for companies, for investment policies or for companies. So do you have that perfection? Do you know what is below the iceberg? Analyze all those things and then select what you want to do. There are many options provided you have aptitude for it. Like you said that it's not only marks. It's not only marks. Marks are just one parameter for selection or getting a clarity what I'm good at. But it is a multi-dimensional approach. And you should have aptitude for it. You should have interest in it. You should have some kind of personality related to that field, and then you should be ready to take that rigor also. So wherever you go with all these skills, path is surely yours. So I say, like, don't be obsessed with only one particular thing just because of the influence of money or so.
Absolutely. So I take this a very important point.
Taxation,
Taxation,
finance.
Right. I think this is a very important point, that the students try to find out your strengths, your acumen. That's what Vandana has to suggest you, because that's a very important piece of advice, because everything looks very exciting, very interesting from outside, but you need to identify what suits you the best. And this is what she's trying to say, that first identify your own strength and then try to match with that particular program. And then I'm sure the success is on its way. Thank you, Vandana, for this piece of information. Thanks a lot. On this point, I would also like to share with the audience that many times you would be confused and you don't know what to do. You can take a lot of advices, but if you want to check your own self, that's the best and easy way, which I would like to refer you. That there are a lot of tests, and we recommend that's one of the best online student ability tests. This test has comprising of the psychological test, personality test, and interest test, and it looks at you in a three different dimensions. It has got over 200 questions. It takes nearly a good amount of 1.5 to 2 hours to appear for that test. But the chances of you getting about your own self, about your own acumen, as Vandana rightly said, is very clear, that you know exactly where do you stand and what's your inborn strength is. And as an Alif, we offer this test for 5,000 rupees, which includes a test reporting as well as counseling. But for today, you know that every Friday we announce, and then today, and for the students who wants to take this test, the report you can have for just 999 rupees. Yes, friends, just for less than 1,000. So you save 4,000 rupees, and then you can have your test done for your own self. So I'm sharing here the data, which you can have a look at it. Here, that's a link. You can click and you can register yourself. This offer is only for today, as we announce. Okay, let's move to the next point. And here I would like to invite Andrea to guide us. Andrea, we heard about Victoria University of Wellington. We would like to know more about it, especially its rank among top 250 in the world and top 150 for commerce. So what makes this university so special? If you can just guide us.
So it was a very appropriate quiz question earlier, because we are located in New Zealand's capital city in Wellington. We're an old university. We were founded in 1897, and we are currently ranked number 223 in the world. And as Aslam rightly said, 150 in the top 150 in accounting and finance. So we are a global civic university. We have fantastic connections across government, our international partners, the business and the IT sectors and the creative sectors there in Wellington. We've got 22,000 students, and our international students come from over 100 countries worldwide. So you get to be part of a very multicultural, very vibrant student community when you come down. Now, for the students who are particularly interested in commerce, we do have a Triple Crown accredited business school. To explain what that means, it means that we hold accreditations from AACSB, AMBA, as well as EQUIS, who are three of the main accreditation bodies worldwide for business, management, and accounting. It's very rare that a business school holds all three of these. I think there's only 70 business schools in the world who have managed to achieve that, which is part of what leads to our rankings, because it does mean that it's a recognition of the excellence of our teaching. And New Zealand has a very, very practical teaching style, where it's not just about theory. You don't memorize things and then write them down on the test afterwards. It's about you learning how to apply practical knowledge to a situation. So we give you the knowledge, you apply it to your given situation, you find your own solutions afterwards. Those are the types of transferable skills that we give you, which really help when it comes time to go out into the workforce, find your first job, because you have critical thinking skills, you have creativity, you have problem solving, you have teamwork, all of which you've picked up as part of your degree or as part of your master's while you're studying.
Wow, I think so. That's a very comprehensive answer for many of our students and parents who are listening, or even the school councils who are listening, that why should they look at this university as probably one of the best options available for the students. And Aman, you already gave a very right answer. The Wellington is the capital of the country. So the link I shared, you can register yourself and have a free access. You don't have to pay anything for this particular career counseling. So congratulations, Aman, for you. And thank you, Andrea, for updating on this particular very important point. Okay, so on this note, I would like to add Himanshu here. And Himanshu, we got to know there are some very strong points, why a student may look at New Zealand as a study destination, and especially for this university. However, as an international counselor, how do you see when the student wants to make a choice to choose the country, number one, in terms of a different continents? I mean, a student has got a lot of options, so he's confused. So what is your advice for whatever we have heard so far, that how should he make a wise decision to look for a commerce options outside India?
So focusing on commerce and New Zealand, and of course, focusing on the Indian students. See, Indian students look at generally for all fields. For Indians, US is the number one country, and the second number country comes, whatever you say, the neighbor or the competitor or whatever for New Zealand is Australia. So US and Australia come as number one and number two for the Indian students. But then if we think about, where do New Zealand students go to study? And you would be surprised what I'm coming to. New Zealand students also go to the US as number one and Australia as number two to go to the to study. But then, having said that, US and Australia from India, US and Australia from New Zealand, and you know what's boiling here? The number of students who go from New Zealand to US is lesser than the people who come from US to New Zealand. On the other side, same way, you may think Australia is a bigger country. Same thing applies for Australia as well. The number of students, I would say, okay, New Zealand students are going to Australia, but then more students come from Australia to New Zealand. So when you match the number, New Zealand doesn't have such huge population. We talk about Australia that, like from India, every year we give birth to one Australia. New Zealand is even smaller. Right? So, New Zealand
It is true. We do have a very small population.
Right? So New Zealand is still smaller, but then just think about it. Countries like US, and I'm putting this fact for the first time. I don't know whether you are listening or observing this fact for the first time as well, because this is my research specifically for this forum. Because I compare, and Aslam knows that I am one of the most unbiased counselors. Even when I was working for Education USA, I wouldn't advise a single student if he or she doesn't fit into the US. And I would never tell anyone to go to New Zealand if you don't fit into the system. But then here, one fact which comes to me is that, I don't know how many times will I say this, but then more people are coming to New Zealand from US, and more people are coming to New Zealand from Australia, because, the diversity is huge. You see, we talk about the climate diversity in India. We talk about from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Gujarat to Manipur, from all over the place. The climate diversity is huge. Right. In New Zealand, you could have forest area, you could have one of the big coastline, you could have the mountains, you could have the volcanoes, you could have all of it. And then when we talk about the intellectual diversity, we talk about, let's say, when I asked, last year I was, fortunate to attend the India-New Zealand Education Forum, academic forum, where all of the professors from there were there. And I was so surprised, to talk to them, the kind of research which is happening there. You all think about Harvard research and Stanford research. Of course, they're doing amazing research. But on the other side, and it comes in the fun facts of New Zealand, that, atom was split here, by Rutherford. So New Zealand, on the other side, on the extreme other side, because Rutherford would never do that. On the other side, bungee jumping was invented in New Zealand.
Yeah. And jogging. Not many people know about jogging, but that was
okay. So when you have such great things and such amazing things, such fun facts to do, and then of course the 8 popular universities of New Zealand, all eight come among the top 3% universities of the world. So how there is something to explore. I haven't been to New Zealand. I would love to, and of course, I would want, maybe Andrea creates an opportunity, or Aslam creates an opportunity, or Education New Zealand creates an opportunity, or I myself, plan. But then, coming to the commerce students, what would a commerce student or a business student look at? A good market, a good place to learn diverse things. If you want to create a business out of bungee jumping, It's right there. If you want to create a business out of tourism, it's right there. If you want to create business in sciences, starting from splitting the atom to the artificial intelligence, one of the professors, and I won't name the university, one of the professors at that academic forum where all the 8 universities from New Zealand were there, was telling me, all this which is happening around artificial intelligence, it's
Yeah.
not really artificial intelligence. They're just trying to create some business out of it. The real artificial intelligence is something else. We need to work into it. It's a lot of research. Artificial intelligence just not doesn't mean that you feed in just data and you get the result and that's artificial intelligence.
True.
Not really. So research wise, also New Zealand has, gives a lot of support. And in that forum, again, I got to know that the research funding has almost doubled or tripled recently. So because that was the academic forum. So these are the things which I learned. And, of course, when I messaged Andrea about that, we are coming on the forum, and she was like, of course, because I have been with the US, and even on this forum, when I came last, I came as the former Education USA advisor. So people know me more about that. And then I
Right.
said, I'm a novice for New Zealand, but then, of course, I'm in love and would love to be part of all the phenomenon called New Zealand. So commerce student or any
Yeah.
other students should
Right.
come. I'm not representing New Zealand to promote it.
Yeah.
I still represent the students, and the people who are around me, they know that. For me, I would always talk for the student. So
Right.
I would want to know from the student what are they looking at, and when they're looking at, they should keep New Zealand as a good destination. And of course, on the other side, when we talk into the history, New Zealand was one of the first countries to give rights to women to vote. On the other side, when we talk about the modern things, today we talk about a lot of corruption. Today we talk about a lot of violence. It's one of the most peaceful countries. So,
Right.
giving rights to women, giving peace a chance, what else you're looking at, in a beautiful country.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Manju. Sorry, I just need to move quickly to
yes,
grab. I think that we can never get enough of
sure,
New
sure,
Zealand.
sure. Thank you,
Yeah.
Aslam. Over to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate the information which you've added to this forum, and I'm sure that this would be a very valuable information for the students and parents to be available who are looking for study abroad as as an option, and then you can compare very fairly with these countries. And I'm sure that New Zealand now, after hearing this conversation from you, at least would come onto the top priorities, if not the first, second, I don't know, but at least among the top priorities, for the students to rightfully select by themselves. On this note, I would like to invite Maharshi, because we're just going to switch on quickly fast so that we can try to cover up a lot many other points. Maharshi, now we learn a lot of about the country and the course. Guide us if I become a graduate and if I go on pursue to do my CA, CS, MBA, financial analyst, etc. These courses. If you can just give us some example for our students' point of view, that what am I supposed to do? Student can't visualize. If I say I'm CA, I'm going to be a CA. So okay, as a CA, what is my job and role is all about? So can you please connect profession with the profile which they are supposed to take it?
So, Aslam, today CA has become one qualification, but within a job profile, there are many things that a CA can do. Now, just to give you an example, one, there is treasury management, where your aim is that, okay, the funds of the companies are lying idle. Where can you park it where there is enough liquidity, at the same time you get good return? That is one option. Another option is you become a CFO, where you make sure that the fund that the company requires is you get at a good rate. You make sure the cash flows are positive. That is one part. Another part that you do is basic accounting, the data management, the data collection. Now these are the basic traditional ones. Now I'll tell you addition that new CAs that have been getting is they go into the stock market and they become financial analysts, where they have to not only do a fundamental analysis but also analysis as to in future what will be the requirement of the company in terms of cash flow, in terms of turnover, in terms of sales, whatever. So what profile you choose is very important. For a CS, for example, there is no numbers into a CS. like what Jyoti madam said, 11th mein they ask you SP chahiye ya maths chahiye, IT with SP,
Right.
IT. One example, I was very clear कि चलो मेरे को पहले CS करना है. I did SP and IT, but I realized no, it's too boring. Then I shifted from SP to IT to maths to IT, and then I realized that SP is something which is purely subjective. So is the CS profession. You will mostly be doing law and things relating to company law, depositories act, such things. Whereas in CA, it is more about the numbers. And when you become a financial analyst or a cost accounting, there purely you have to study the company's balance sheet and help them solve the challenges that they do. Just to keep it brief.
Right. And when I compare with this, what Maharshi you explained with the MBA program, and nowadays people are doing CFA, financial
Yeah.
planning. So, what's your advice? I mean, should they look for this as a long-term vision, or it's going to die, in a short period? Because a lot of people say that you may have to, have more professional programs than this. What's your
So
take on this?
I'll be the devil over here. I am not that much of an advocate for an MBA, but what has happened is currently the system is such, like if you want a job in a bank where you want to become one of the RMs there, or you want to help bank into lending, the eligibility that banks have is a CA or an MBA. What happens? There are two type of courses. CA is something where entry is difficult. Exit is CA is where entry is easy. You can just give a CPT, but exit is difficult. In MBA, the entry is difficult. You have to give an exam. You have to exit is comparatively there. So people who cannot do CA can go think that okay, I'll do an MBA and then I'll get a job in a bank. But what happens is banks see that from which college have you done your MBA, and those are the basis. I have many CAs who are my friends who did CAs but are now doing sales job. What does sales job mean in an NBFC? They get business for the NBFC. They help to get in. So if you ask me, rather than doing an MBA for 2 years and then doing some training or job, you might as well do 2 years of an internship in the company that you intend to do, or in the profession that you intend to do.
Right, right. I think that's a very good perspective you've offered, that the entry and exit point for MBA and CA. That's something which is very different way to look at it. On this note, let me quickly have Jyoti ma'am. Jyoti ma'am, and I'll have Vandana as well, so that quickly we go to the last round. Jyoti ma'am, now there's one way to look at it, that the commerce students, once he committed to commerce, he needs to be with this particular field. Whereas a science student has got the option, if he doesn't want to continue with his science, he can come back to commerce or other field. Is it true, first of all, and how it is a practical sense? Because there are many students happens every year that they do not fare well in science, and they realize that this is not our field. And what is your advice for these kind of kids?
Okay. You always have the toughest question for me, I think. I don't know why.
You're the most experienced one, so.
Okay. Two, I've already applied for my visa for New Zealand. Okay, Andrea. Okay, imagine a scenario in a typical middle class family in India. The child has opted for IIT exam or for becoming a doctor. Suddenly, one day he comes after class 12th result. He's also selected. It has happened in my own home. The child has been selected to join engineering as well as medicine. He scored for that. The child drops a bomb that I don't want to do it. What do you think would happen in such a situation? The mindset of the parent has to be changed. The parents have to be very calm about it, and also be happy that the child has understood that science or maths or medicine is not his calling, right? And through experience, I've understood that children who have been studying science, they are more strong in their beliefs. They're able to calculate better. They're able to focus better. I'm not discrediting others, but they have gone through all the hardships of IIT, JEE, NEET, everything. So for them, this transition is just not going to be difficult. They'll be able to switch over very easily. Only thing is the parent and the entire family has to be with them And now with multiple credits, with totally dipolar or multipolar choices of subjects, I think it's going to be very easy. My own cousin, he was from IIT. He was shell shocked when his son said, "I'm going to become a CA." IIT person's son becoming CA. But today is a very success. He finished his CA in first attempt, topping the entire country. Two, he's a successful CA today. So I think it doesn't matter whether you're science or maths or music or whatever. You just get it right. I request the parents, in case you have such a scenario in your place, please accept the decision of your child. Go with him, be with him, and he will do well.
I think
Right?
it's a very, very important. Yeah, what you said is that most of the time, parents, they find it very difficult to accept this reality when it comes and
Yeah.
it shows onto their face. So I think that's a very important piece of advice coming in from Jyoti ma'am. I'll quickly move to Vandana. Vandana, those students who are hearing us and would like to know more about the colleges here in India. So what's your advice for them? What are the options for them, and why should they look at those colleges?
See, I also believe in matching the personality of a student with the personality of a college. Just like we all have different personalities, institutions also have. Some are traditional in approach, where traditional classroom works. So if a student is more into only memorizing, doesn't want to do much of the hands-on, can look out for traditional colleges like Delhi University and all. A student who is happening student wants to do a lot outside the classroom also. I am a strong believer of liberal arts colleges because these liberal arts colleges give you exposure to a lot of activities on fields, internships, opportunities. So these are the colleges that prepare you for skill sets. So when we are talking about skill sets, I would say that the students who are listening to me right now, future belongs to the person who has a skill set. Please follow that T sector where you have a breadth of skills and you have depth of knowledge in your own area and you have the liberty to choose your own interdisciplinary subjects. Excel, grow, because we are entering in an uncertain era where not only earnability is important, it's also employability. It's not only survival, it's also thrival. So please make sure that you are selecting colleges as per your personality. If you are a happening student and going to a traditional college, you might struggle there and come back or stressed. But yes, in my school, I advise students to go to colleges like Mumbai universities where they have a lot of opportunities, exposure. Weekend is another thing where they really enjoy their weekends and all. Residential houses and liberal arts colleges are another thing that is very popular in my school, and I advise them go there because they have a lot of exposure to other activities. They have research-oriented professors who not only give them subject knowledge, but they also bridge the gap between the outside market knowledge as well as the theoretical knowledge, which is a big disconnect at the moment. When they study about all these things and get a connection of the classroom concept along with the market concept, I think they develop a bond with that particular subject and then they thrive in that. So this is what I advise, and look out for colleges. Research well what this offers, what is the ethos of that college, what are the popular courses here, what kind of students excel there, connect with, research well. If it matches with what you aspire to do, please select. But don't select under wrong notions like they have great placements. They have great placements for the students who actually excelled there, who were well fit, right fit there. So look out for the right fit instead of just the superficial rankings and all. So we work a lot on college selection also, depending on the personality of the student, budget, also the course offerings. Maybe location is another thing which is a preference by quite many of the families. So these are certain factors which the students must take care before they select college.
Right.
A lot of students have seen come even from great colleges. From DU, I have seen my students coming back, taking a year off, and then moving abroad. Now, DU, 98% student, people die to go there. Students die to go there. But that student is coming back after 1.5 years and no, ma'am, I can't study there. Because the student's personality did not match the college. It doesn't mean that the college is right.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
I think make very educated decisions. You have good exposure. We have good facilities. Listen to all those people you respect. But please learn to filter and skim the information and listen to your heart also what you know. You will excel in your area wherever you are. But please believe in skills, communication skills, critical, participate in a lot of activities, develop
Yeah.
that confidence, and you will absolutely be successful.
I think it's a very important point which you mentioned. So students, as Vandana already mentioned in the beginning of the show, that you need to find out your skills, your strengths, and match the course with it. Similarly, it goes with you to find out your personality and type of personality and other factors like budget and match with this college selection. So I believe that that's a very no-brainer, very logical advice coming in from Vandana. Thank you, Vandana, for adding this piece of information. I'll quickly go to Maharshi. Maharshi, now on this last note, when we're talking about the career and opportunities, we do see that the commerce graduate students sometimes struggle to find the right career options. In fact, I've got some data which is not so great, but we need to be very open and transparent in our conversation. It suggests that the commerce employability, the last year we had a good employability ratio. It was 47 percentage now, which has got dropped down to 30%, maybe because of the economical scenario and all. However, what is your advice, because you have seen the success through commerce? What's your advice that what students make a mistake while selecting a career, and what should they do in terms of having a successful career?
First part of advice, if I have to give, would be that whatever profession you intend to go. Now, when I take, for example, what just to add what Jyoti Madam said, I take a BAF, that is accounting finance. I take a BBI. We were the first batch when the BBI and BAF got introduced. So people thought, okay, chalo, I will get work in banking and insurance. But what happens is, on the basis of this, there is no, getting of job assurity. So it is better you speak to the person who has already done that or is doing that, and how has that course helped them in their business or where their job. Like if I've done banking and insurance, completed, and I am working in a bank, so the person who intends to do banking and insurance should either speak to me that, okay, how is the course and how much has it helped? Because what I feel, what I may have learned over the period of 3 years could easily be learned in a span of 3 months, and I could save those 3 years for doing something else or earning knowledge in a proper way. That is what I feel. So there's a huge disconnect in what is taught and what actually works in practicality. So advice is, whatever you intend to do, speak a person who has already done that and ask him the pros and the cons, and then accordingly go ahead in your journey. That is, I think, the advice.
Right. So education must never stops. You connect yourself with the right education, even though you become a graduate in any field. Doesn't mean that guarantees you a successful career. You need to keep on searching for the new age education to connect with what's happening in the industry and try to take this as a stepping stone to enter into the market. The last question I'll come to Andrea. Andrea, how the situation looks like in New Zealand now? Are we open for students? COVID situation. Many students have asked this question that can we apply for visa, etc.
Okay, so New Zealand did handle the COVID-19 pandemic very well. There was a time when we were completely COVID-19 free. There has been another outbreak in Auckland, meanwhile, which they are now handling very successfully, and I expect it to come under control quite soon. The borders are not currently open for students, but we have had an indication from government that they should be open again early next year. So the universities are processing offers. Students can apply as normal, and visa processing will be coming back online in November this year. So we're still waiting for that final government announcement on what arrivals will look like, when will it be, but it looks like it will be possible for students to join us for the February-March session.
Okay, so here comes the great news. So if you're looking for to joining the universities of New Zealand in February, you have got high chances of receiving the announcement, which will allow you to start your visa process from November onwards. Until that time, can they apply for the admission right now if they are interested to have the offer letters ready?
They can. We process applications up to 1 year in advance, and I think that's common across all of the universities there. So they can apply, they can get their offer, and then there's no application fees at New Zealand universities. So you get your offer, you don't actually have to pay anything until you're ready to come down. So it means that you're prepared when you get the news about when borders are opening, or if you decide you want to defer, if your circumstances are not right at that stage, that's a very easy process.
Absolutely. So I think that's a sigh of relief for many students and parents. So no investments, start with your documentation. If you want to reach out to us, on the screen, you can look at our website and the telephone numbers, and we'll be more than happy to help you to assist with the documentation process. And so let's round up the session with what we always call is the one-line success advice from our awesome speakers. So I'll come back to Himanshu first. Himanshu, what's your one-line success advice for the students who are listening to you? You already added few very, very important information on top of that.
Yeah, for me, of course, my answers are never short. But then that's what I would give an answer to. Do not take a shortcut. For parents, make your job difficult. For a counselor, make his or her job difficult. Means I'm talking to the student. Don't let your parents decide in a minute or in a second. Don't let your counselor decide in a minute or a second. And you yourself, do not just go on Google and try to search top 10 universities for computer science and apply to all of them and get rejected.
Right.
Do not take a shortcut. Invest time, invest energy, because that
Absolutely.
can make or break
Himanshu,
your
very
life.
well said. In fact, on this point, I would just bring out this data, which was surveyed by India Today, and they said that 93% of us Indian students do not know more than 7 career options. And that tells you the story. So rely on to the experts to guide you, make best use of them, in order to do some little genuine research before you decide for one option. And as Vandana very clearly said, that identify your acumen. So I'll come quickly to JYOTHY ma'am. JYOTHY ma'am, one line of success advice for our students.
I am picking up a few cues from Himanshu and adding to mine. Do whatever your heart says, and with focus, because zindagi dobara nahi milegi. Do it well. Okay? You do what you want to do, and convince your parents that you're going to do this only and only this. So with focus, no shortcuts. I'm adding on to what Himanshu said.
No shortcuts.
We'll all meet these students in New Zealand sometime.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So no shortcuts. JYOTHY ma'am says, follow your heart, because zindagi na milegi dobara. Okay. Vandana.
I am a strong believer of discovering yourself a lot, first of all. So if you know how to discover yourself, you will discover what you want. So keep discovering yourself and play your strengths. Good luck, all of you.
Thank you very much. Discover yourself, because once you're clear about your own self, it is much easier to identify your right pathway. Absolutely right, Vandana. And Maharshi, one piece of advice for the people looking for career.
What I would say is that always speak to one who's done what you intend to do first, and then do what you want to do. There'll always be somebody who's done it before you. Speak to them, understand, and then do. And if possible, if there is time, you can maybe do an internship of a month or two whenever you have time, and see whether that's what you intend to do. Because I have had many people who, like engineers, find what they want to do when they do engineering. Now, that is what is happening with commerce. So just always speak and try interning first. That's it.
Yes. So what Maharshi is saying is that success leaves trails. So just follow the trails. Don't reinvent or invent by your own self. There are lots of examples and success stories out there in the market. read through it, search through it, and you do not have to go through that hardship. Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Maharshi, for that golden piece of advice. And our speaker, Andrea. Andrea, what's your one-line success advice?
My advice would be pursue what you're passionate about, because then success will find you rather than the other way around. And if you don't know what you're passionate about yet, try out as many options, explore what you can do, find it out before you make that final decision. Don't decide on something just because other people advise you to. Find what you're passionate about and then take those important decisions in your life.
Absolutely. So for the students who wants to try. So I'll just connect what Andrea said. So fail until you win. That's what she's trying to say, and then you will find out your pathway. Thank you very much, Andrea, for that piece of information, and thank you all the audience and students and parents who joined us today to this wonderful session we had on top career with commerce degree. Thank you all the speakers once again for your insightful conversation which we had, and I'm sure that it made a lot of differences and it must have broken a lot of myths and misconceptions. If any of our listeners seek further information, please feel free to connect us on our helpline number 99870 99890 or visit our website www.alif.in. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel or following Facebook, I will request you to do so, because there are lots of free content available on a various subject matters, and it will help you to at least dig out the subjects, do some research, as all have said, and then make a viable decision. So my name is Aslam Sheikh, the founder and CEO of Alif, signing off with a promise to come back again next week, 5 p.m. with another interesting topic and some amazingly talented speakers, enlightening you on subject that matters to you the most. Until then, thank you for watching this program. Stay safe and stay excited.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.